So I see where Drake May has been named the ACC Player of the Year and the Rookie of the Year. I just saw that. Okay, we're good at that. We're good on that. Now, to the actual fact that they're playing on Saturday against Clemson.
Sure.
Look, there are football reasons why you might like Clemson over Carolina. There are football reasons why you might like Carolina over Clemson. And, Drake May and Josh Downs, especially Josh Downs being 100%, gives you a chance. I am curious about the vibes, though. I love vibes, Wes. I'm curious about the vibes for Clemson.
Right.
Because we're yet again playing an ACC conference championship game where there are no college football playoff implications. Typically, when Clemson's in this situation, there are implications for this. I don't know what the crowd's going to look like for a Clemson squad that's not going for, another conference title is not a thing that Clemson fans are going to get too worked up about anymore. They're probably disappointed and more focused on what Dabo's going to do in the offseason with the portal and everything else than they are what's going to happen on Saturday. So I feel like this is an opportunity to catch Clemson, the most SEC of ACC teams, in a classic SEC bowl game moment. If it's not the one they want to be in, maybe they might not be so motivated and you can catch them. I don't know if I'm off base on that, but I do feel like that might be a storyline on Saturday.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm probably the guy that 3 weeks ago thought that Clemson didn't want any part of Carolina, and now I'm not sure that Carolina wants any part of Clemson.
Yeah, okay. I can see that. I can see that too.
I don't understand, and since I'm not working the game, I haven't, forgive me for not being entwined into some of the commentary this week from the coaches, right? Clemson has an issue that Clemson will have to address this week, next week, whatever. I mean, this is eerily similar to Clemson's inability to run the ball the last couple of years, and they had to fix it this year, and they did to a degree. But they're going to have to fix the back end defensively and obviously the flatlining or inconsistencies of the quarterback play. And if that's a personnel change, fine. If that's a coordinator change, whatever it takes. I didn't like the matchup for Clemson 3 weeks ago because I don't like Clemson's secondary. I just don't think they've played very well. I think their front seven is very good. The reason that I flipped is because Carolina has been pressured the last 2 weeks in the run game by both Georgia Tech and NC State. NC State is understandable. Georgia Tech was a little surprising. And when they got pressured in the run game, it then forced Carolina to get out of their rhythm in terms of what they do offensively. And I'm not sure Carolina handled that very well. Well, the one thing I do know about Clemson is they will absolutely get after you in the front seven. And they're more than equipped to do it. And I think that's a real issue for Carolina. The other thing, too, is that I thought Carolina's defense was kind of, settling in, if you will, to be that okay group, not a great group, but an okay group. And the last 2 weeks, what I've seen is Carolina's potentially fallen back to being that get-right defense. That means they're the defense you want to see when you want to get right. And I'm not so sure that if they can't get it back Saturday night, that Clemson just won't line up in 22 personnel and run it at them. Because that seemed to work for Clemson, and it seemed to work for a lot of people when it's come to Carolina the last couple of weeks.
You make a good point about DJ Uiagalelei and Clemson's quarterback. Clemson needs more better players.
Clemson is one of, and it's not an Uiagalelei exclusivity either.
No, it's not.
That's the other part about this, and you know what I mean by this, Giglio. Clemson is one of about 4 schools in the ACC that can't get vertical on anybody right now.
Right. No, they need more better players.
Yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh doesn't have any verticality. Clemson has no verticality. Virginia Tech doesn't have any verticality. I mean, the list is – Duke's got more verticality in the throw game right now. Wake Forest has far more verticality in the throw game than those schools I just mentioned. And it's a scary thing, to be honest with you, because it was what Clemson's calling card was, that, T. Higgins group. They were going up and down the field on you, and it was allowing ETN to eat and all this other stuff, and that just does not happen anymore for those guys.
Wes Durham, ACC Network, joining us here on the OG. We'll close on this. This is something that we've been talking about, how this offseason is going to go. Like, for instance, Mac Brown on his coach's radio show talked about essentially tampering. That with the portal and agents look, they got guys that I'm sure that some other schools would love to bring on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's a concern for somebody like Mac Brown, obviously, and he's not alone. There's other schools here in that regard. Are we equipped?
Riley Leonard at Duke.
Yeah, Riley Leonard at Duke would be another one. Are we equipped?
Come on.
Are we
He is so good?
Are we equipped to discuss how this offseason is going to go? Because Giglio's likened it to basketball. But basketball is easy because it's one guy or two guys. We're talking about some huge seismic changes that can occur this particular offseason because of the money.
Joe's connected I am connected to some guys, and Giglio certainly is connected to coaches. And I don't know, Joe, if you've heard this from the same people you talk to, this thing next week is going to be like wildfire.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that the common fan is really ready to understand what's going to transpire in FBS football next week. I mean, it's like, you're hearing now, well, such and such is going in the portal. Okay. Well, is it Tuesday at noon, Joe? Is that right? I think it's Tuesday noon where the portal opens, right? And at Tuesday at noon, it becomes like free market. It's going to be scary because
like July 31st in hockey, right?
Yes. I mean, it's like the trade deadline. It's like free agency in the NFL, where the guy shows up in the car at 12:01 in the morning and, hey, here's the deal. And there's going to be a lot of things that transpire here that are frightening, to be honest with you. And some teams that, I don't know how many teams are going to be dramatically impacted, but I'm going to guess they're going to be one or two because, look, I've said this to some people. If I were a transfer portal wide receiver and Carolina was interested in me next year, I'd be interested.
Absolutely.
And I'd be interested if I kind of knew where, I thought it was interesting. Dave Dorn, I think I read it. Did I read right? MJ Morris and Ben Finley, he expects to be part of the program. He was unclear about Devin Leary. Is that what he said?
That's what he said.
I want to make sure. Okay.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? Does that mean Devin Leary's going in the portal? Does that mean Devin Leary's going to try and go to the draft off a torn pec muscle, I guess? That's a frightening thought too. But then all of a sudden, if I'm an NC State guy and I've seen MJ Morris spin it, or I'm a guy transfer portal guy. Look at Antoine Wells of South Carolina who put a buck whatever on Clemson last week.
Right.
He was at James Madison in the FCS semifinals in Fargo, North Dakota last year, and 10 days later after that game was over, he was in Columbia, South Carolina after telling Kurt Cignetti he wasn't going in the portal.
Wes Durham, ACC Network, ESPN. No, I'm not going to see you in Charlotte, am I?
Roddy Jones and I, by the way, are hosting the ACC Honors event tomorrow night.
Very nice.
Or Friday night, which will be replayed and shown next week.
Okay.
But I'm actually leaving when that event is over. I've got Boston College at Duke on Saturday afternoon at Cameron Indoor Stadium.
So Giglio and I are going to be at the Fan Fest on Friday from 3 until 7.
I will not be at the Fan Fest from 3 till 7.
And then we're going to be broadcasting from there noon to 2 on Saturday. Ahead of the game. So I can count you out.
I would be unavailable at that point.
Okay. Well,
that's disappointing.
We'll see you in Greensboro for SWAC scoreboards, though.
I don't know about that yet either.
It's tradition, Wes.
I know.
Tradition. Respect the tradition. All right, man. We'll talk to you later.
Who knows? Maybe I'll do some radio. Maybe I'll do some TV. I just, they point and shoot, and I just go. How's that?
Relatable. All right, man. I'll talk to you later.
Take care. Be well. Have a good week.